Welcome to Level Up Tribes. Level Up Tribes provides resources to help you attain the necessary resources to level up your mind, body, and soul and realize your full potential. It is about exploring, learning, providing you with the tools from the experts for you to create a better version of yourself. I am your host, Agnes Goodwine, and welcome, Tribes. Hello, beloveds, and welcome to our latest episode of Level Up Tribes podcast. Today, we have a wonderful guest for you, Mark Warlick, who will be talking to us about the universal laws and how they can be applied to our daily lives to create the life you want. Mark began practicing meditation nearly 25 years ago at the Agape International Spiritual Center in Culver City, California, under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. After completing a series of classes focused on spiritual laws, Mark became a licensed religious science practitioner in 2000. He has traveled to Egypt more times than I can count in my hands and other sacred sites around the world, which has become the foundation for successful spiritual living. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm excited to have reconnected with Mark to bring you a deep discussion about these laws for you to become a conscious creator of your own reality. Let's dive in. Mark, welcome to Level Up Tribes podcast. Thank you so much for having me here today.
And thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to dive right in and talk about universal laws today. Please tell us about your background and your specific studies that led you to the path of learning the universal laws.
Well, of course, what you're really asking me is your life story.
Exactly. Everything.
Right. So I guess the thing that I really want to start with was there was a point in my life where I actually started searching. And, of course, that began with when I got divorced.
That always happens, huh?
Really. So this was back in the day of AOL and the chat rooms. And I made a friend who we had been friends for some time, and she actually came to visit. And we were like not sure if it was a romantic thing or what, but she came from Baltimore to Los Angeles to come visit. And when she got off the plane, it was like, no, there's not a romantic connection here. But anyway, we still hung out. She stayed the weekend, and she actually had another friend in town. So on Saturday, we were watching movies. And, hey, would you like to go to church in the morning? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm looking for a place. So I'm like, well, there's this place called Agape. I'm like, well, okay, let's go. So we go to Agape. And we go to Agape, and then we go to brunch afterwards. And at the time, Agape was in Santa Monica. So we go to Agape in Santa Monica and then drive over to Crenshaw for brunch, which, is a nice little drive. So we're sitting down for brunch, and my friend Cherie says, so Mark, how do you like the service? And I'm going, it was good.
You broke down?
I'm still crying.
Oh, my God.
So for the next 6 weeks, I would go to Agape by myself, and I cried every time.
Wow.
So I knew that, and it turned out that was, it was around my birthday because she came to visit on my birthday. So by about that time, they were having their holiday party, by the time I could stop crying. So I go to the holiday party, and, I'm at the holiday party, and this really, really pretty woman picks me up. I'm like, wait. There are women here that like me, and it's a good message.
I'm going every Sunday.
I'm all in. I get into classes. I'm in the new member classes. I swear.
I love it.
I'm all in. So I get in the new member classes, and then they have a foundational class. I'm just like all in. So I take all the classes. Then I become a practitioner, take all of their classes. And then, I'm doing service work. I am like a mainstay,
Wow.
I'm like, not only do the women like me, but they're pretty women. These are like Los Angeles women, they're actresses. And, I'm like, yes, my son is cool. He's enjoying himself. This was it was the best. So anyway, I'm into it, and you know, I start talking to other people. When I say other people, you know, still within the same agape community. But when I would talk to them, it became clear that they knew something more. So I'm like, so one of the people was Michael Beckwith's brother, Akili. So I would say stuff to him, and Akili was just always so warm and embracing. But he would say stuff, and it was just like, yeah, but that's different.
Yes.
You know, and then there was another person, Lisa Watson, who, when I would work with her, she would ask those kind of questions that would just get right to the heart of it. And it's like, yeah, but you're coming from someplace different than what is going on here. I mean, I could see the similarity, but it was still something different.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm like, okay, so what do you guys know? Well, they wouldn't tell me anything. So, well, what do you study? They wouldn't tell me something. And then they finally said, get a Course in Miracles. I went and got a Course in Miracles.
Within the same church?
Well, no, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, okay, I got a Course in Miracles. So can I start studying with you guys? Well, no, because we started at the beginning of the year. And we don't let people come in at the middle of the year. So I said, so what do I do? They said, just start reading it. So I said, well, how much should I read? Read a section a day. Okay, fine. So I start reading a section a day of the Course in Miracles. And by the time I get to about the 40th day, their teacher, Dr. Aziz Fuqua, comes to town. And then when I sit with her, then I go, oh, that's what's going on.
Okay.
Because, and that was the beginning of, well, the more mystical part of universal law, of understanding universal law.
And for those that don't know, the agape, that's very famous now, and including Michael, what's his last name again?
Beckwith.
Yes. He's been on Oprah, and he's written books and so on. What's the foundation of that church?
It started with Science of Mind.
Okay.
Which is different. It's not Scientology, but Science of Mind. So basically, it's mental science. And understanding how the mind creates the creative how creation occurs out of thought. Let's put it that way. So the founder of Science of Mind is a guy named Ernest Holmes. So that was the start. But then if you start doing more research, you'll find that the same principles can be found in every religion.
Okay.
So he calls it New Thought, Ancient Wisdom. That's what he calls it now.
I love it. Oh, man, I'm going to do a lot of research. We're going to learn today.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And so what led you to the path? So you met Isis, and then that led you to the path of learning the universal laws.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Let's talk about what are the universal laws and how do they impact our daily lives?
Okay.
And how many are there?
Okay, there's 7.
Let's start there.
Yeah, let's start there. So first of all, let's start with the first one, which we'll call the law of mentalism, which basically just means the universe is mental, that everything begins with a thought. And, you know, when people say speaking into the universe, well, the issue there is that before you can speak, you actually do have to think.
True.
So, and we also know that people can lie, which means but their thoughts never lie. Okay, so number one, the law of mentalism. 2, the law of correspondence, which is basically says as above, so below, as within, so without. So based on what is happening in your world, you can tell what's happening internally, and then of course what's happening internally gets projected out.
That one is so deep.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And it's also, you know, it's important to be able to connect the two.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so if there is turmoil, if you sit long enough, you'll go, yeah, okay, well, I'm having this inner conflict.
Yes.
And it's showing up as my kids fighting or
having problems at the job or having problems with your spouse.
Exactly, relationship, those kinds of things.
Okay.
Vibration, everything has a vibration. So the law of vibration, I'm sorry. Everything has a vibration. You know, your heart has a different vibration than, say, your intestine, for example. You know, you can tell what your overall vibration is based on your friends, your consistent friends that are always around you. So when people say, oh, I need to get rid of the negative people in my life, well, the good way to get rid of the negative people in your life is is the best way to do that is to stop being negative,
Right.
which of course people don't really want to do that.
Right.
They want to continue to complain
Yes.
and talk about their boss and their lack of funds or their relationship, and then complain about their friends who will do the same thing. So vibration. Polarity, basically everything is dual. When you think of polarity, you've got, think of two of a broom. On one end of the pole is, let's say, love. On the other end of the pole is fear. So everything is dual. Rhythm is basically just the swing between the one pole to the other pole. So
Okay.
if you're in a dual universe, you're living in a dual universe, you can swing from being really, really happy to really, really sad. With a swing to one direction, it's going to be the same as a swing to the other direction.
Kind of similar to the vibration, right?
It's, yes, vibration though is,
Consistent?
yes, consistent.
Okay.
Yeah. So your heartbeat has a vibration, boo-doo, doo-doo,
Right.
doo-doo.
Okay.
Okay. With rhythm, if you can actually identify as God, then you actually are moving yourself above duality. And you can observe the rhythm, you can observe the poles, but you're now above it,
Oh, I like it.
right?
Okay.
Cause and effect. Cause and effect's the best, another way of saying you reap what you sow.
We've heard that one.
Yes, everybody has.
Yes.
Everybody has. But the application of that is that, okay, if you've been judging people, you're
Yeah.
going to get judged.
Yes.
That's
True.
how it works. And if you're getting judged, it's because you've been judging people.
Is that where karma falls into?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the karma is not, it's a law, but it's under the umbrella of cause and effect.
Correct.
Okay.
And then what's the last one over there?
Law of gender.
Law of gender. So everything has a masculine and feminine principle. And the beauty of that is, think of a seed in the soil, seed and soil. So the seed then becomes the masculine, the soil is the feminine. So in order to produce anything, they both have to work together in order to produce a plant, fruit, etc.
Okay.
Okay? So here's the thing, is that when you're dealing with gender, when you're dealing with masculine and feminine, we all have them both inside, okay? And while we have them both inside, we end up getting in relationship to, so that we can actually do this dance with each other. I'm sure, how long have you been married?
13 years, married 8.
Okay. So there's times when I'm sure that you're more active and he's more, I'll say, less active.
Yes.
And then there's times when he's more active and you're less active.
Yes.
So a womb in itself is very still, very quiet, deep, moist, dark,
Okay.
feminine.
Yes.
And then the seed, in order for the seed to actually do something, it actually needs the womb, it needs the soil to activate it so that it can actually become all that it's going to become.
Beautiful.
Okay. And inside the seed, inside an acorn is a full oak tree, but it needs the soil in order to
Yes.
become that. So the beauty is that the way the Creator created us is that when we come into relationship, the feminine role, which can be done masculine or by a male or a female, but their job is to activate the seed for it to fully bloom and come into fruition.
Yes.
The beauty, of course, is that when the seed becomes fully evolved, it returns all of its fruit
Yes.
back to the feminine,
Right.
back to the soil.
This is the only law that I wouldn't say a conflict with, and you please correct me if I'm wrong in my perception of this law. So if everything has a female and male balance in life, right? Shouldn't our Creator have the same?
And our Creator does.
Because raised Catholic and had an issue with looking up to a he.
Correct.
And so I've always struggled with that all my life, because I've always felt in my heart that
It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit?
So, great question, and that's one of the reasons why people leave the church, because it doesn't make sense. And what makes it even worse is they tell you don't ask any questions.
Yes.
You know,
Because I asked this question.
right? And they say don't ask that question.
Right.
So, if you think about it, you got the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit,
Right.
and the way they teach it to you is that all three are masculine, which doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But if you look back in early Christian writings, you'll find that the Holy Spirit is always feminine. So having the mother, father, and son, that makes sense.
Yes.
So again, seed, soil, and fruit. I mean, then it makes sense, and you go, "Oh, okay,
I'll move on."
we're good. We're good now." You know, but the reason they can't, they tell you don't answer any questions because they don't know. You know, and they've been told, and when they burned a whole bunch of the early books that explain this kind of stuff. They Council of Nicaea, they started editing the Bible. So
Yes.
they took out stuff that they thought was enough,
Yes.
but it's actually still coded in there if you know how to read it.
Deep. Wow, that's a lot. Let me
So now
let me inhale and exhale. So let's go back into the 7 universal laws. So how do we apply it? Like, which one comes first? I mean, what is the best way for us to implement these laws into our daily life so we can, because the universe gives us everything that is needed. We just don't tap into it.
Okay, so let's start talking about, first of all, who we are and what we are.
Okay.
So first of all, understand that we are a direct download of God. Okay.
Yes.
But let's take a step back, because that sounds too airy-fairy or whatever. Everybody understands that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. All-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere. Okay? So if we understood that God is everywhere, in most people's mind, God is everywhere except where I am, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like fundamentally that doesn't make sense. So if you can recognize that God is actually everywhere, including me, including you, then all of a sudden, then it's like, okay, now I can now start to think about and look at things in a different way.
Right.
It's like, okay, no, I'm God.
Yes.
But in order for me to be God, you have to be God too.
Yes.
Now, I can be working stuff out. You can be working stuff out. We're in this classroom called Earth, where we're actually learning to be God. It changes everything.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden it's like, you're just working. Somebody's just working things out.
Right.
They're working out not stealing from each other, or not cheating on their significant other, or not lying, or not being a janky president. They're,
Right.
they're just working it out.
Yes.
That becomes a different thing.
True.
So if we understand that first, that we are actually working things out, learning our lessons, then it becomes, okay, now I'm interested. I've got a whole bunch of thieves around me. When I do business, everybody is, out for themselves instead of out for what's good for everyone.
Everybody. Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, well, let me then change myself. Let me make sure that when I enter a business deal, then I'm going to do what's good for me and for the person who's sitting on the other side of the table. So, how much do you want for this? Okay, let me see what I can do.
Okay.
And if I can do something, great. And if not, then that's fine. But now my goal is for both of us to do something good for both of us, not just for me.
Right.
And that becomes, first, it's mental, because you don't have to agree to that. But it's all in my mind that I'm trying to do the best for everything. It becomes vibrational because now it's not competitive. It's cooperative.
Yes.
It becomes cause and effect because guess what? Now, if I'm doing that for you, somebody's going to do that for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah. Okay. So then it becomes, now you have these laws that first you have to understand who you are, then how you apply it. Once you know who you are, then applying it just becomes more of an observational thing.
Yes. How does ego come into play? Because
Great
that's
question. Ego is basically saying that, no, I'm not God. I'm something separate. I'm not part of this intelligence that had created this universe. I'm different than that. I've got to watch out for myself. I've got to plan my entire life for the next 30 years.
yeah.
And the better my plan is for my own safety, then the better off I'll be. And I won't be scared and I won't be hurt.
Yes.
But fundamentally, you always will be,
Right.
because you have aligned yourself on the opposite end of the pole.
Right. What do you think are like the best way for someone to become self-aware that and a little ego, I mean, to me, I think it's a little healthy. But when you refuse to learn and change for the betterment of yourself, then it becomes a problem. But for those that are not conscious enough in their path right now in their life, what's the best way to kind of like let go of that ego and get more grounded?
Okay, so the design, our design is actually impeccable, and there's pain there. There's just pain, and I call it the bottom of the bottle. Everybody gets to the point where they go, I don't want to do this no more. It can be telling lies. It could be just being angry. I'm tired of being angry.
Yeah.
It could be, I'm tired of not having any money. I'm tired of, I'm just tired.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm tired of how I feel when I drink all night long. And you get to the bottom of the bottle where you go, I don't want another drink. I don't like the way this feels. And the system is the system. The universe is designed so that we get to the bottom, and we go, there's got to be a better way. And once we get to the bottom that there's a better way, then we start going to look for it. Everybody has to get there for themselves. Now, if you want to, if you think that, geez, I do want to make some changes, I always tell people, start meditating.
Okay.
I say just with 3 minutes a day.
Okay.
Get up. You don't even have to get out of your bed. Get up, sit up, close your eyes for 3 minutes, and just follow your breath going in and out.
Yes.
And it will actually, over time, first of all, I'll say two things. Don't use a timer, but just 3 minutes.
Okay.
It will grow on its own.
Wow.
And then once it grows on its own, or as it's growing on its own, then you'll go, yeah, but maybe I should pick up this book, and then you start reading a book. And then while you're meditating, then you're reading a book. And then all of a sudden, maybe what if I start this journal? I've always had this. So now you're writing. So now so now it's like you've got a period of time where you're self-reflective, you're getting inspiration, and then you're observing.
Yes.
You've got three things in on that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then as you're doing that, then all of a sudden you're going to start noticing things are happening differently. Your life is a whole lot smoother. Your friends are changing.
Yes. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Your relationships are changing. And all this stuff is happening. And it started just with 3 minutes. But it actually started when you went, there's got to be a better way.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And so you have some books here for us. You want to talk about them?
Yep. The first one is my favorite, one of my favorites. It's called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I guess this was, man, I want to say 1930s. You can buy it on Amazon for, $3 or something like that. You can even find it online for as a free PDF. Um, but basically, it basically says your life is a reflection of your thoughts, and that's it. So whatever it is going on in your life, you put it there, and it's the way you want it, all of your life.
Which goes to the law of
Mentalism.
yes.
Yeah. So, and that's a powerful thing, because it's like, well, I can change how I think, I can change my mind,
Right.
and I can change my life.
Yes.
So that's one. The next is the Kabbalion by the three initiates. This is like the fundamental book for the 7 universal laws. I probably read this every couple of years or so.
Okay.
And even every time I read it, I'll go, boy, this wasn't here the last time.
Oh, it's one of those books.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's
Okay.
definitely one of those. And then the final one is called Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. And what this one is really good for is it links repetitive thought to current sicknesses. So people go, yeah, but I'm not sick because I thought I had this thought. Well, the best way to do it is to pick the book up and then look at a family member or somebody that's very close to you, and then look up their sickness. Yeah. And then you can go, oh, yeah, I can see it for them.
Wow. I'm picking that book up this weekend.
Right. Right.
That one, I think that one's a must.
Right. And it's just one of those things. I had some congestion, and congestion is confusion. Oh. And I started, watching more about this coronavirus and all this other kind of stuff. And so all it is just like you've gotten confused about who you are. You can keep your vibration high enough where that won't ever touch you.
Wow.
But if you think that it's a real thing out there, you've gotten confused as to who you are, and guess what? You're going to get some congestion. How about that?
Right. We can touch on that all day long, but we're not. We're going to keep it positive, keep the vibration high.
Right.
But I think there's a little bit scared tactic out there because of that. And unfortunately.
And when you start recognizing it, just turn off the TV.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, is there anything else you would like to add or discuss that perhaps we haven't touched on today? You gave us some deep, deep stuff. A lot of homework.
Let's see. I don't know. My thing is, I guess the key thing is that we have the ability to create. And, we have the ability to create. And the more we think about that, and the more we just contemplate on that, the more powerful that becomes. And then if you are fortunate enough to have some melanin, then you have a superpower.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Well, it turns that, everyone has melanin, everybody. And the highest concentration will be found in the pineal gland, the third eye, and the adrenals, where that really governs movement. So it's not a surprise where people with a lot of melanin move differently.
Yes.
It's not a surprise where people with a lot of melanin tend to be more creative, more intuitive. Yes. Well, that's a superpower. And if we concentrated on our superpower, all this other stuff becomes null and void. Yes. It's not, it's like every time a person with melanin gets involved with anything, they end up taking it over. Yes. Every time.
That's true.
Case closed. Right.
Get to know yourself. Get to know your superpower.
Right.
Dig deep. Know where you're coming from. That kind of stuff.
Well, it's just know who you are.
Yeah.
But fundamentally who you are is, you are divine. You are creative.
Yeah.
And you put on this particular bodysuit for this particular lifetime, but don't think that you've only had this bodysuit all the time. Okay, I mean, you put on different clothes every day.
Right.
So why would you think that your soul will go, I think I'd like to be a heterosexual black female lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So
Hold that thought for a second. So, I got a question. Reincarnation. You said earlier that this is our Earth school.
Right.
And so for us to become more conscious in our life now, like who knows what lifetime this is for me, I believe in reincarnation. And I just believe that we're here to learn because in the soul level, for me, being here, like you get to learn about love, and those emotions. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You do?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so when someone else comes into this life and they're either, gay or any part of LGBT, do you think that they need to learn something?
Right. Great.
Sorry. Am I getting too deep in the rabbit hole?
No. This is a great question.
Okay.
So first of all, understand that one time you're a man, next time you're going to be a woman. One time you're black, you're going to be a white. Next time you'll be an Asian, you'll be Latino, you'll be whatever, And each time you come in with a certain number of some lessons to learn. So if you want to be a really good man the next time, then be a really good woman this time. Okay? And then if you're going to do some janky stuff, expect that the next time around, you're going to go, I really don't want to meet myself.
Wow. Yeah.
So when you start talking about gays, basically, it's all they're basically saying is that, and they might get mad at me, but they have a judgment about the other sex because that judgment was based on how they used to be. So if they were really, really, let's say they were Lorena Bobbitt cutting off a whole bunch of penises.
Right.
When they come back as a man, they're probably not going to want to be around any women. Kind of thing.
I get you.
Okay. So again, it's not a judgment.
Right.
It's just like we're here to learn.
Yeah.
We're here to forgive, which has nothing to do with anyone else, but to give forth those judgments that I'm carrying in here that are providing me for my lessons. I'm here to give them forth so I can now become more and more divine.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Before I ask for your contact information, anything new that you're working on?
So you were sharing at the very beginning when we first sat down about doing this podcast and how that came to you. So my thing for this year is a speaker series.
Oh, nice.
So I've been doing a monthly speaker series. Tomorrow night, actually, we're going to have a friend of mine, Vianella Von Austin, Queen V, will actually be talking about universal laws and practical application, which you actually channeled that.
I love it.
Last month, we talked about astrology.
Oh, no. I love that kind of stuff. Come on, Maury. You got to hook a sister up.
Right. And then next month, I have a friend who's an abundance prosperity person, and her topic is the masculine and feminine qualities of wealth creation. Oh. I know. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Right. But I'm not. I'll send that out on Sunday after Vienna's.
Okay.
So just like you, I've been here in Phoenix, and I've been thirsting for a, deeper level conversation, deeper kinds of friendships and things like that. So I just realized I have to create it.
Yes.
And whoever can find their way to me, then, fabulous.
Right.
But I'm sort of tired of walking around in my camouflage.
Yeah.
And people think that I'm like everyone else when it's like, no, I'm not really interested in talking about the Lakers or the Diamondbacks or the
Yes.
Cardinals. I mean, it's like
It's nice and everything, but no.
right.
Let's have discussions where we're going to grow.
Exactly.
And,
Right, exactly. And yeah, we can have some good food and we can listen to some music and all of that, And, if that kind of other conversations filters in, but that's not really what we're here for.
Yes.
So,
I love. What is the best way for our listeners to contact you?
of course, you can find me on Facebook. Should I give my phone number?
You can if you want to.
My phone number is 323-356-8877. You can find me on Facebook. I've got a bunch of different pages and things like that.
And I'll provide those links on the show notes.
Yeah. And, in my Tupac voice, I be around.
It was such a good pleasure to reconnect.
Absolutely.
We've seen each other on the trails and we have hiked together, but I'm amazed and I'm so happy that we connected at this level of frequency.
Oh, absolutely.
You're so knowledgeable. And so hopefully we can continue that relationship, and I can't wait to attend one of your workshops.
Well, I hope to see you tomorrow night, and if not, definitely for our March event.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please visit the website at www.leveluptribes.com. And please subscribe to the podcast and share with your family and friends. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Catch you all next time, my beloved tribes.